All right, guys, welcome back. Glad you guys are joining me for this. Right now, we're going to take a look at kind of the instigators. Right, we've done some videos about some of the actions that the British take that really anger the colonists, but now we have to see there's going to be an escalation because on our side of the pond, you're going to have these instigators. You're going to have people who are stirring up trouble, who are making problems. We're going to look at some of the individuals and then, of course, some of the groups. And so today it really is about the sons and daughters of liberty. That's really where we focus today. So you have a lot of colonists who are really angry over what they see as not just a little bit of mistreatment. People all over the world are angry at governments at any given time for various actions, but we're talking years and years of mistreatment. And after years of mistreatment, listen, people will put up with a lot. They'll deal with a lot of mistreatment, a lot of misfortune, and they'll just kind of continue on with their lives. But when it gets to a boiling point, when it gets to be so difficult to bear, then you start to see people clamoring for real change. And when you get a kind of critical mass of people who think about change in the same way, what you're going to see is that these colonists begin to organize. Now, this is not the last time that you'll hear this idea, but for any change to take place in society, particularly when it comes to government, there has to be organization. We all have our opinions, we all have our ideas. I got bad news for you. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what your ideas are. Nobody cares what your issues are because you are one voice in hundreds of millions of voices in the country, right? Now, when it comes to things like social change, the reason that organization is so vital is because when you take your view and you join it together with your voice with uh, thousands or tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of other voices that agree with you, all of a sudden what you're doing when you join those voices together is it's not just a voice of a million people, it's like a voice of a million people with a megaphone. You're amplifying the effect of your views, your voices, your choices that you'd like to see changed, right? And so ultimately, that's what has to happen. So colonists are going to begin to organize. Now, these two guys are some of my favorites. They are absolutely vital. They're going to create and found this group called the Sons of Liberty. Now, the guy on the left there, right here we go, that is Samuel Adams, right? Samuel Adams. Obviously, a close connection there with John Adams. They are cousins. On the right hand side, you're going to see John Hancock, both very influential people. Now, John Adams and John Hancock are kind of the de facto leaders. The Sons of Liberty are a group of loosely organized individuals. So it's kind of half organization, or I should say, half angry mob and half secret society, right? But they are beginning to organize. Now, the reason these two guys are so important is Hancock, the one that had been on the left, he's the money man, right? He's the wealthiest man in the colonies at that time. So he's putting his money behind revolutionary activity. He's the one funding a lot of the organization. He's funding the newspaper presses. He's funding the activity that's gaining attention, right? He's putting a lot of his money behind the things that he believes and the changes that he wants to see made. Now, Samuel Adams was born moderately wealthy, right? Moderately wealthy, but this guy has a gift. He is a silver tongued orator. He has that very special and unique ability. Very few people have it. You look throughout history, the people who make history, and more often than not, they have the ability that Samuel Adams had, and that is the ability to move people to action, to inflame their passions through powerful speech, right? Not everybody has it. Not every American president has it. It's a very rare thing, but he has the ability to kind of wind them up, to inflame their passions, to relate with them, and then through that, he's able to kind of, I don't want to say manipulate, but he's able to move them to action, right? So working together, Hancock and Adams are a powerful duo, right? One is funding all the activity, the other is kind of weaving the narrative and getting people to be moved, right? To join up in this endeavor. Now, the Sons of Liberty had very legitimate complaints. We've talked about that. The issues over the Quartering Act, the issues over the Stamp Act, and there will be others, right? There are many issues, and they have what I believe are very legitimate concerns, questions, and complaints. They also have legitimate means, meaning they're going to network with one another. They're going to communicate via letter. They're going to write pamphlets and editorials in newspapers. And so they're going to go about doing things the way that organizations often do. However, one of the things the Sons of Liberty are also known for is kind of getting their mob on, right? I mean, they're going to mob up. Samuel Adams will say, that is the reason. He'll point to a symbol. It'll be a building, or it'll be a person who represents the British royalty, the crown. He'll say, that is the reason, that right there. He'll point to it, right? He'll give a speech on the corner in front of it. That is why your children go hungry. That is why your freedoms and liberties are being infringed upon. That is the symbol of your oppression. Well, he's given that speech to a lot of people, and in the crowd, there are members of the Sons of Liberty. Oddly enough, that building in the morning is a smoldering ruin of ash. So he would kind of direct them in some ways, right? If it was a building, it might be attacked. If it was a person, they might find themselves beaten or worse, tarred and feathered, right? So there were a lot of different things that they did that were legitimate. There were a lot of different things that they did that were certainly seen as very radical. And in fact, the Sons of Liberty today, we would think of them here in this country as kind of freedom fighters, right? They're working towards our independence. But in Great Britain, they would have very easily been considered as terrorists. So everything depends upon your perspective. Now, what we will also see again, the colonists are going to form chapters. They like the idea of having something to belong to, having a group that, again, amplifies their voice. So they form chapters, and these members begin to network and write on behalf and share ideas with one another about advancing the cause of liberty. And so remember, the very first thing that has to happen before change can ever take place is there has to be a level of organization. And we're seeing that in the colonies through the Sons of Liberty. Now, the ladies were not excluded, right? They couldn't be obviously in the Sons of Liberty, but they're going to form their own organization, one known as the Daughters of Liberty. And I got to tell you, they did a really good job of organizing. In fact, they were more effective in some respects. While there's something cathartic to releasing your anger and breaking something that seems like a very male thing to do, right? I'm just going to be angry and smash something or burn something down, and I feel good in the moment. Guess what? They're going to build it back, and they're going to build it back, and they're going to bring more troops, and they're going to support it with troops, and they're going to raise taxes to rebuild that building. So while it feels good in the moment, I don't know that it was the most effective way of doing things, that like angry Hulk smash tactic, right? But the Daughters of Liberty, they were very smart. They decided they were going to hit the crown where it hurt the most, and they're going to let their displeasure be felt in the pocketbook. So the Daughters of Liberty, angry over taxation without representation, angry about all of the interference of the British government, they're going to do things like resist the British by boycotting British goods. If you're going to raise taxes on manufactured goods, guess what? We just won't buy manufactured goods. If you're going to raise taxes on manufactured clothing because you want to support the textile industry, but you're only taxing us, well, forget it. We'll wear what they called homespun goods. They created sewing circles. And so here we see an image of these women who have gotten together and they're doing their thing, right? They're creating homespun clothes. Are they going to be the latest fashions? Probably not. But in wearing them, you're advertising to the community, you're advertising to the world that you will not be taxed, you will not be subject to those things that you see as unfair. So that really probably did a better job of getting the attention if money wasn't flowing in, right? So the boycott is a very powerful tool, and these ladies picked up on it very quickly. You want to get somebody's attention, you cut off the flow of their funds. And that's what they were trying to do. So what we're going to see is that, and again, I've mentioned this a couple of times already, that significant social or political change, it requires organization of like-minded individuals. And that's one of the reasons that I love the Sons and Daughters of Liberty, is because we're seeing the first glimpse of that. It's the beginning. It's not the end, but it has to take place in order for change. Love the instigators of Samuel Adams and John Hancock and the Patrick Henrys of the world, right? Give me liberty or give me death. People are starting to feel very strongly that our natural rights, our ability to live our lives unhindered, to make choices for ourselves, are being seriously impeded by somebody with power that shouldn't have power, right? And so we're starting to see some of that change, or at least the idea of change. Now, guys, there's going to be more videos coming, and I try to take them in bite-sized chunks so that it's not overwhelming. You can do kind of one term or one concept at a time so that it's not just overload. But if you haven't watched the other videos, please go ahead and do so. Subscribe, and I can push out new videos to you. We're doing that almost daily now. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.